Hello friends, very warm welcome to my business laws channel. I hope friends you must be enjoying this business laws paper. Friends, I have developed 70 videos regarding business law syllabi as per NEP. That is a new syllabus. Regarding this, I have developed 70 videos and I have covered all 5 units. Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4 and Unit 5. And in my last video, I had covered practical exercise in the syllabus. It was regarding terms and conditions in the rent agreement. Today, friends, I'm going to take up sample rent agreement, and this rent agreement is also known as lease deed. Friends, I did talk about that this rent agreement has to be registered. Only the registered rent agreement is the valid document which protects the rights of both the parties. So first of all, friends, lease deed for a period of 2 years. We are presuming this lease deed is for a period of 2 years. That is, duration is 2 years. And rent amount settled between the two parties is 30,000 per month. And security for 2 months, it is 60,000. So we are presuming that tenant is required to pay security for the period of 2 months, which comes out to be 60,000. This stamp duty is to be paid at the rate of 2%. In my last video also I mentioned about stamp duty. So monthly rent is 30,000, 12 months in the year, the total amount comes out to be 3,60,000. So 2% of this, if we calculate as a stamp duty, the amount turns out to be 7,200 plus rupees 100 as processing charges. So total amount is 7,300. And now friends, I would like to talk about the various points which are to be covered in the lease deed. Let us begin now friends, these various important points. There are 39 points. So hurriedly friends, I would like to cover all these points. So before I take up these points, let me tell you, lessor is the landlord or the owner, and lessee term is being used for the tenant. First party we are using for the owner or the lessor, and second party is being used for the tenant or lessee. Okay, so first of all friends, in the very first point we have to give name and address of lessor and lessee, and also the details of property to be given on the lease basis. Which floor? Are we giving the entire property on rent basis or one floor? If it is one floor, then it is which floor? Okay, and apart from this friends, the various points are now, the second point is monthly rent and duration. The monthly rent is 30,000 here, already as I have mentioned. Okay, so both the parties have decided that rent amount will be 30,000 rupees and duration is 2 years. And security already I have mentioned friends, which is 30,000 rupees, and both the parties have agreed that this security will be for the period of 2 years, 2 months. So this will be interest free security, which after the period of rent agreement, the owner is required to return this security to the tenant. Okay, the third point is friends, the third point is regarding the security amount, which already I have mentioned. Fourth is time and mode of payment of rent. Now, the rent will be paid in advance by the second party to the first party, by the tenant to the owner. And now the period is 15 to 20th. 5 days period has been given, because only one day cannot be given, because one day if the emergency occurs, then it will be difficult for the tenant to pay the amount of rent. So some grace period is also given. 15 to 20th, both the parties have decided that 15 to 20th of each English calendar month, the rent will be paid. And what will be the mode of payment of rent? The mode will be, the rent has to be paid online by RTGS or NEFT. So the cash will not be paid. Amount has to be paid through, RTGS or NEFT. Coming to the fifth point, water, electricity, and parking charges. The second party shall pay the water, electricity charge, IGL charges, 1/4 of the lift and parking, electricity, and maintenance charge separately. And there is water meter, electricity meter, and even separate meter for the lift or parking charges. So friends, here also we are presuming that this residential building has got 4 floors, parking, and then 4 floors, upper ground, first, second, and third. So every tenant has to bear 1/4 of the lift charges, because lift is common to all. And apart from this, water meter, electricity meter, and IGL, it has to be borne by each tenant separately, according to their separate meter. The use of parking area. The parking area, friends, it will be used. The second party parking area will be used for parking of one car only and not for any other purpose. So the second party or the tenant is not allowed to use this parking area except for one car, and he will not be allowed to use this for any other purpose. And this is the residential building, and this building has to be used only and only for residential purpose. So friends, remember, all these points are to very clearly specified in the agreement. Now next one is, friends, moving ahead, minor repairs. The day-to-day minor repairs are to be demised to the demised premises will be carried out by the lessee. Lessee means the tenant, at his or her own cost and expenses. Minor repairs, say certain light is not working, or geyser is not working, or refrigerator is not working. Okay, so minor repairs are to be carried out by the second party or the tenant. Then penalty for non-payment of advance rent. If during this 15th to 20th date in our example, if the party has defaulted, the tenant has defaulted to pay this money, then in that case that party will be liable to pay rupees 1,000 per day as delay charges. So deadline was 20th. Say the party pays on 22nd, then for one day at the rate of rupees 1,000, the party will have to pay the penalty to the owner. Then return of premises. The premises is quite fit for habitation on all counts, in all respects, and all amenities have been provided. So it is all fit for residential purpose. In the same condition, friends, the tenant has to return the premises to the landlord. Nothing more, nothing less. It has to be in the same conditions. And then point number 11 is subletting of property not permitted. No, tenant is not allowed to sublet the property. So this right is not available to him. Okay, if he does it, then in that case a legal action can be taken by the landlord against the tenant. Misuse of tenanted property. The tenant shall not misuse the said premises in any manner and will abide by the rules and regulations of all statutory bodies or the government. He cannot misuse the property. And if he does it, you all know, friends, then it means the other party will have the right to take legal action against the defaulting party. Lock-in period. Lock-in period is, friends, in our case, it is 6 months. Okay, now during this lock-in period, the parties shall not have the right to terminate this agreement. After lock-in period, either party can serve 2 months prior notice to another party for vacation of the said premises. Okay, so this because it has been locked now for the period of 6 months. Coming to the next point, which is inspection by the landlord. The landlord will have the right to inspect the premises at any at all reasonable timings. That is, according to the convenient or favorable time of the tenant, landlord has the right to inspect his own premises. So to this, tenant will not have any objection. Duty to reimburse for any damages. Second party, the tenant has caused any damage to the premises or to any fixture or fittings installed therein, then he or she shall be liable to reimburse the owner or the same and will put the premises in the same condition. Already I have put, friends. I've already mentioned that it is a duty of the tenant that he has to put the premises in the same condition in which he was given this possession by the owner or the first party. The reimbursement of damages. The tenant shall not create any type of nuisance in the said tenanted premises or any part thereof or in the properties nearby. So he should not disturb the neighbors even. And if he does it, then of course, friends, whatever losses suffered by the owner, the tenant has to reimburse the owner for the loss. Notice by the tenant. If any party wants to vacate the said tenanted premises before the expiry of tenancy period, then they will serve 1 month notice to each other. Say the period is 2 years here in our case, and now here the tenant wants to leave. So 1 month notice has to be served, or the landlord wants to get it vacated. Then 1 month notice has to be served by the landlord to the tenant. Coming to the next point, which is tenant to bear expenses. During the month of tenancy, the second party shall not ask for any fittings, any fixture, any washing, painting. All these expenses, friends, will have to be borne by the tenant. Tenant will have to bear these expenses. He will not ask for all these to the landlord. Additions or alterations not permitted. Major alterations and additions in the building, tenant will not have the right to get it done. Tenant is only permitted to make the use of the premises, and no alteration, no additions he can do in the premises. 20th is use of premises for any political activities. No, tenant will not have the right to make the use of premises for any political activities. And if he does it, any illegal activity, any unlawful activity, it is for smuggling or for storage of wine and all, okay, then in that case, the landlord will have the right to get it vacated. 21st point is responsibility of lessee. The lessee shall be responsible for anything broken or missing and shall restore them in the same conditions after the expiry of the agreement. Then handing over of vacant and peaceful possession. After the agreement period is over, which is 2 years in our case, it becomes a duty of the tenant to hand over the vacant and possession in the peaceful manner, with all fittings, all fixtures, in the same way in which he was given the possession by the owner. Misuse of electricity, water and water meter. Electricity meter and water meter. The tenant is not allowed to make the misuse of electricity meter or water meter. And in case of consequences arises in respect thereof, then he or they shall be liable for the same, and landlord shall not be responsible for the same. So in case he misuses either the electricity meter or the water meter, then he will have to pay the price for that. Moving ahead, friends, point number 24 is non-payment of rent or on breach of any other condition. If there is a breach of any other violation of any other condition on the part of tenant, or the tenant fails to pay the rent, then in that case, the landlord will have the right, first party will have the right to get it vacated before the expiry of the stipulated period. The period is this stipulated period in our case is 2 years. Vacation of premises on failure. If the tenant fails to pay agreed monthly rent continues for a period of 1 month, the landlord will be entitled to terminate the tenancy without notice and get the said demise premises vacated from the tenant. So if the landlord, the tenant fails to pay this rent amount for a period of 1 month, then landlord will have the right to get it vacated. Then jurisdiction for disputes. In case any dispute arises between the two parties, landlord and the tenant, then that will be settled in the jurisdiction of Delhi courts. Because we are presuming this building which is going to be given on lease basis or has been given on lease basis, it belongs to Delhi only. So jurisdiction will be Delhi court only. So all the court expenditure, court fee, advocate fee shall be paid and borne by the second party, which means the tenant. Storage of objectionable material. Tenant is not allowed to keep any objectionable material in the premises. Any inflammable or explosives or contraband or illegal material in the rented premises. He is not allowed to do it. And if he does it, the neighbors object to that or which endangers the safety of the neighbors or any violation of any applicable laws or rules, then in that case, the compensation lies on the shoulder of the tenant. Tenant has to compensate. Tenant will be answerable to the authorities. So moving ahead, friends, point number 28 is vacation of premises without notice. If the lessee, the tenant, vacates the said premises without giving the required notice, which is 1 month, in that case, the lessee will pay the entire month rent. Because notice is must on the part of both the parties, whether owner or the tenant. But if the tenant has vacated the premises without giving 1 month notice, then he will have to pay the rent for that month to the owner. Penalty for overstaying. Let us presume in our case, friends, the 2 years period is over, which was the rent agreement period, that is over. Still, the tenant has not vacated the premises. Then he will have to pay rupees 3,000 per day. This is the amount of penalty. As penalty, in addition to the lease amount reserved to the lessor, that is the first party. Point number 30 is, friends, sharing of cost on equal basis. Whatever is the registration cost of each stamp, registration charges, advocate fees, it shall be borne by both the parties on 1:1 basis. That is 50-50% sharing basis. Coming to the next point, which is 31st point, rent as per market rate. That the parties to this agreement have specifically agreed that considering the location, accommodation, and condition of the said tenanted premises, the rent is a fair rent and is as per the market rates. So friends, both the parties have agreed that 30,000 rupees is the rent amount as per prevailing market rates. The landlord not liable. This is the next point, that any damage is caused to the furniture, accessories, items, other belongings kept in the said tenanted premises due to fire or any other reason, or it is stolen, okay, then in that case, owner shall not be liable or responsible for the same. In other words, friends, the tenant will have to bear this loss himself. Rent for the entire month. Say, the tenant wants to vacate the house in the first week of the month. or second week or third week, okay, then he will have to pay the rent for the whole month. 1 week doesn't mean that he will pay 1/4 of the amount of rent for that month. He will have to pay whether he leaves in the first week, second week, or third week. He will have to pay the rent amount for the entire month. Point number 34 is this rent agreement doesn't come within the domain of Daily Rent Control Act. Alternatively, the Rent Control Act is not applicable to the rent agreement. All applicable laws, the second party or the lessee or the tenant undertakes to abide by all bylaws, rules and regulations of the NDMC, TP, DDA, or any other local body. Okay, the lessee shall obey all the lawful orders, directions issued by the said authorities. The lessee shall use the lease premises in accordance with the master plan of Delhi and shall comply with all the rules and regulations regarding the user of the premises and the manner of its user. So all applicable laws, he will be bound by all applicable laws. He cannot say that one particular act is not applicable on him. Okay, friends? So I hope you must have understood all these points. Custody of original deed. Now, to keep custody of original deed, this is the prerogative of the owner. But owner has to provide the photocopy of that to the tenant or the lessee or the second party. Acceptance of first party as the owner. Now, it is very clear to the second party that second party has accepted the first party as the owner. She or he is not having any doubt, very sure that this building ownership belongs to this first party. Then point number 38 is no antisocial activity permitted. This antisocial activity will not be permitted in the rented premises, which will affect the reputation of the landlord. In case the tenant is found to do such act, the lessor will have full right to get the above property vacated from the tenant with the help of the police. If it is required at the cost of the second party, the cost has to be borne by the second party in that case. And the last point is, friends, which is point number 39, signature with free consent and sound mind. As already I have mentioned in one of my videos, friends, that both the parties will have to reach the sub-registrar's office for registration along with their witnesses. Okay, then they declare that both the parties have delivered their signatures with free consent and they had the sound mind while delivering their signature. Nobody has compelled the other party. So friends, this is all about the various points contained in the sample rent agreement, which is also known as lease deed. If you have any doubt, you can always write in the comment section. I hope you must have understood all the points, all the 39 points. It is all about various points to be included in the sample rent agreement, which is also known as the lease deed. Happy watching and happy learning, friends. Do watch my videos. Do subscribe to my channel if you have not subscribed yet. Friends, keep smiling and shining always. All the best. We'll meet soon. Goodbye.